So we have ourselves a new franchise today, the Brandon Bulls, a team we have never seen before and a franchise we have never seen before. And on this franchise right now is a ton of 0 overall players, 20 0 overall players to be exact. And of course, we have to win a Stanley Cup with this team. But how are we going to be doing that? Well, today we're going to be linking players' attributes. So how are we going to be linking players' attributes? Well, we're going to start off by spinning the wheel of attributes, and we need to figure out what attribute we're going to be starting with. And it looks like we're going to start with deking. So what we're going to do is generate an attribute rating. The lowest we can get is an 80 and the highest we can get is a 90. Now you might be thinking getting an 80 overall deking rating might be a little bit too high. Trust me, it is not. I actually tried this before and I ended up getting a 71 deking rating. We could not get anyone that would be somewhat competent for us. Like, we're talking about like 62 overall players. So yeah, I'm definitely not doing that. An 80 minimum rating is more than fair. So we'll go ahead and generate a number. We're walking away with a player who has an 82 deking rating. Honestly, that's actually a lot better than you realize. Now, you know what? I actually might want to take that comment back. An 82 deking rating actually might not be better than I thought. It actually might be significantly worse than what I thought. But even with an 82 overall deking rating, I still believe we're going to be able to walk away with a decent player. So we're now looking at players who have an 82 overall deking rating. We're looking at players such as Larkin, Braden McNabb, Bobby McMahon. Definitely not a bunch of superstars. Shout out to Stick on the Ice legend Will Borgren, though. He is one of the options. So I'm going to quickly go through all the players here. I'm not going to lie, Bobby McMahon is interesting, but Chris Kreider is also available. And Chris Kreider's an 85 overall would not be bad. Even Jacob Trouba is an 85 overall certainly wouldn't be bad, because that means the rest of their attribute ratings are higher, meaning we can bring in better players moving forward. So I think there's a very good chance we go with Chris Kreider, but maybe I should take that back. Will Cooley is also available. There's actually a lot of better options than I thought there would be. But you know what? I don't think we should overthink things too much. If we have the option of selecting an 85 overall player, I believe we should go with that player. And Chris Kreider, I'm actually going to go with you over Will Cooley. The only reason for that is I feel like very rarely I ever bring Chris Kreider to my team. So Chris Kreider, welcome to the team. You're going to be an amazing upgrade. Now, Chris Kreider, you were the first player brought to the Brandon Bulls. You're surrounded with a bunch of 0 overalls, so I'm really not expecting you to do too much. Honestly, if you take a shot this season, I'll be impressed. But you know what else will impress me? If we get through this entire season without the game crashing or freezing, that would be pretty cool. But clearly, there's only one way for that to happen, and that is, of course, you subscribing to the channel. Yes, if you subscribe to the channel right now, the game won't crash or freeze on us. So if you want us to be able to get through this entire season, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, why on earth did you not subscribe to the channel? You could have prevented this from happening if you had just hit that subscribe button down below. You're enjoying the content, so you might as well just subscribe to the channel. Not only will you be notified of future videos, but you can also prevent stuff like this from happening. Alright, enough shameless plugging for today's video. The game's gonna be freezing after we lost 66 games in a row. It's time for us to go receive an upgrade. Now, before we link any attributes to Chris Kreider, we have to figure out exactly which attribute we're gonna be linking, and it looks like we're gonna be linking his passing attribute. This actually might work out really well for us. Now, when taking a look at Chris Kreider, his passing attribute certainly isn't the greatest in the world, only an 83. However, I am very confident I can work with that. So what you might be thinking right now is there's no way that I'm going to be able to walk away with a superstar that has an 83 passing rating. Like, obviously that's not going to be happening. But I think you're overlooking something. You're overlooking goalies. And you know what? There's actually a very good goaltender who has an 83 passing attribute, and that goaltender is Sorokin. As a 90 overall, his passing rating is only an 83. So Sorokin, you're going to be the next player brought to the team, a 90 overall goaltender, and we're securing him through his 83 overall passing rating. Honestly, it doesn't even make sense. But you know what? I'm not going to argue with it. Now, I certainly didn't expect to bring in a 90 overall player with an 83 passing rating, but you know what? I'm not going to complain. Sorokin, welcome to the team. You're certainly going to keep some pucks out of the net, but are we going to be able to score any? Very unlikely. But I guess an even more important question is, are we going to get through this season? And the answer is no, and we all know that. Like, why are we even pretending at this point? We know it's going to crash or freeze. It's just a matter of time. Wow, who saw this coming? Never would have expected the game to crash. Except everyone did. Now, when it comes to moving on from Sorokin's attributes, I guess I should mention, not all of his attributes can be moved over. Like, puck playing frequency obviously cannot go to a forward, and his high and low glove cannot go to a defenseman, so there's actually very few attributes we can move here, but we're landing on durability, and that is definitely one we can link to a different player. Now, when it comes to Sorokin, he has an amazing durability ranking, sitting at a 94. Now, based on that alone, I can basically guarantee you we're going to be walking away with a superstar. The first player I'm checking checking in on is Nathan MacKinnon. We basically have to look at players who very rarely get injured. So Nathan MacKinnon was your durability rating. It looks like it's only a 91 overall, so we can't go with him. Cale Makar is a 90. How many players actually have a 94 durability? This actually might be way more difficult than I thought. Like Connor McDavid, you rarely get injured. What's your durability rating? It's only an 89. Okay, who on earth has a 94 durability rating? When it comes to goalies, we're definitely going to find somebody with a 94, and that player is going to be Vasilevsky. So Andre Vasilevsky, welcome to the team. We have our goaltending tandem set, and we're only 3 players in. Now, I certainly wasn't expecting us to have our goaltending tandem this early in the video, but Vasilevsky and Sorokin, I'm not going to complain about that. 2 of the best goaltenders in the game. And then when it comes to our forward and defensive core, Chris Kreider. Yeah, Chris Kreider's the man, and you know what? He's playing center minutes this season, because obviously that's not going to hurt us. Now, before we look at the standings, I just want to remind y'all who is on this team. Vasilevsky, Sorokin, Chris Kreider. So we have 1 forward, 0 defensemen, 2 goalies. We made it to overtime. And we didn't score a single goal this season. Who on earth did we go to overtime against? Congrats to the Dallas Stars, but who on earth couldn't beat us in regulation? I need to know exactly which team that was. Which team could not beat us in regulation? It was the Calgary Flames. They beat us 1-0 in a shootout. Calgary, really the only thing I can say here is you have to abolish your franchise. You have to get rid of your franchise. Not even relocating is good enough. Just blow it all up. The Calgary Flames no longer exist. You beat us in a shootout 1-0 when we only have Chris Kreider, Vasilevsky, and Sorokin. And we have to remember, Vasilevsky and Sorokin, they can't be on the ice together. Only one goalie's in between the pipes. So it was one of our goalies and Chris Kreider. That was it. That is all we had this season. I need to know which of our goaltenders made to a shootout, because we also have to remember, because they made to a shootout, that's technically a shutout. Vasilevsky shut out the Calgary Flames. They should be embarrassed. I'm not going to lie to y'all. That might be one of the craziest things I've ever seen. There is no reason you should have been shut out to us. We had Chris Kreider, and that was basically it. Now, luckily, we're going to be landing on the speed attribute, which is going to make it very easy for us to move from a goaltender to either a forward or a defenseman. And Vasilevsky, you have a very good speed stat sitting at a 93 overall. I can definitely work with that. We're going to be walking away with a superstar. Who's that superstar going to be? I haven't figured out yet. Now, when it comes to a 93 rated speed attribute, we're likely going to be looking at some of the best players in the game. Nathan MacKinnon, he's a 96. Cale Makar, he's a 95. Marty Necas is a 94. But we're going to find like a 92 overall player who has a 93 rated speed stat. Or do we pass up on said 92 overall player so we can bring Jacob Slavin to the team? Slavin would actually be a really good defensive defenseman. Yes, there's probably better options out there, but Slavin was the first player I found with a 93 rated speed stat, so I think we're going to go with him. Now, Jacob Slavin, although you're a left defenseman, we do need you to play some forward minutes this season, because outside of Chris Kreider, there's only 0 overall forwards and defensemen on this team, so we might as well put these 2 guys on the same line together. Regardless of whether or not one's a left winger and one's a left defenseman, they got to play alongside each other. Now, at first glance, this might not seem that crazy. The game is freezing once again. What if I told you I re-simulated this season 8 different times? And this is the 8th time it is either froze or crashed on me. Yep, I just kept simulating this season over and over again because I assumed eventually we would be able to get through this season. Apparently not. Jacob Slavin, apparently you were just the unluckiest player in the world. Nah, for real though. What's going on here? When I had Chris Kreider, Sorokin, and Vasilevsky, I only had to re-simulate I think 2 or 3 times to get through the entire season. We're on re-sim like number 8 here, and I still can't get through the season. Nah, things are getting ridiculous. Slap shot accuracy is going to be the attribute that we're going to be linking from Jacob Slavin. Let's see who we can go and pick up. Now, I feel like it shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but Jacob Slavin's not really a known goal scorer. So when it comes to his slap shot accuracy, that's going to be only an 86 rating. So don't expect us to get any amazing goal scorers here. But that doesn't mean we can't bring in a superstar defensive player once again. Now, there's a couple players I'm thinking could potentially have an 86 slap shot accuracy. One player I want to check in on is Robert Thomas, but he actually has an 87 rated slap shot accuracy. So we're not going to be bringing Robert Thomas in. Honestly, that's very disappointing. I was really hoping we could bring Robert Thomas to the team. Sidney Crosby, I'm assuming you're like an 88, maybe even an 89. Looks like you're actually a 92. Honestly, that really shouldn't surprise me that much. You're a 94 rated player. Obviously, your attribute ratings are going to be pretty high. maybe Matt Barzal is going to fit into what we're looking for. He's only an 86 overall, so this very well could be possible. And you know what? I think Matt Barzal is going to be the player we're going with. Matt Barzal, an 86 overall playmaker. He also has an 86 slap shot accuracy, so we're going to bring Matt Barzal to the team. So we're going to have a complete forward line this season. It's going to be Matt Barzal playing center minutes, Chris Kreider on his right wing, Jacob Slavin on his left wing. Ideally, with our next spin, we're going to be able to bring in another forward, and then Jacob Slavin, you can go back to playing defensive minutes, and you don't have to be our number one left winger moving forward. Now, like, it's actually kind of crazy to think about. Jacob Slavin, I need you to be one of the top goal scorers on this team. We are talking about Jacob Slavin being an elite goal scorer for us. That's how you know we're cooked. Now, Jacob Slavin, maybe you're not the unluckiest player in the game. Maybe I'm just unlucky, because this is the 5th time it has either froze or crashed on me. I have now witnessed 13 straight freezes or crashes. What are we doing? I understand there's 0 overalls on the team, and I understand that hurts us. But even still, 13 in a row, that's beyond ridiculous. Now, it's been a long time since we've been able to get through a season, but I think things are about to change. Fighting skill is probably one of the most useful attributes in this game, because you have to remember, guys like Nathan MacKinnon, Connor McDavid, Sidney, Crosby, all of those superstars, they likely have a very low fighting skill. And I can confidently say Matt Barzal's fighting skill, probably not that much different than Connor McDavid's. Now, when looking at Matt Barzal's fighting skill, his is a 65. I can't imagine Connor McDavid's isn't a 65. If anything, his is likely going to be lower than a 65. But when taking a look at Connor McDavid, what's his fighting skill going to be? A 65. So Connor McDavid, we're going to bring you to the team, the best player in the game. McDavid's going to be an amazing upgrade for the team. But at the end of the day, we really don't have any snipers or power forwards on this team, so what are you really going to do with all the 0 overalls we have? So moving into this season, we officially have a complete forward line of Connor McDavid, Matt Barzal, and Chris Kreider. But you know what would be crazy? Playing one of these guys on the second line. Like, why on earth would we do that? These are the head coach preferred lines. They want Chris Kreider playing second line center minutes, even though he's not a center, and that would mean we would have a 0 overall in the first line. I refuse to do that. I don't know what this game is thinking, but yeah, this is our first line. Why would we have a 0 overall in the first line and then have Chris Kreider play center minutes? That just makes no sense. Now, like, I've seen some stupid line combinations when we have 0 overalls on the team, but that might be one of the stupidest. They took Chris Kreider out of his primary position to put him into a position he doesn't even play. Like, that's crazy work. Now, we finally were able to get through a season, but I do want to mention, since I added Connor McDavid to the team, this game did crash 3 different times. But you know what? Who cares? The Brandon Bulls, a 1-81 record. We scored 69 goals this season. This team is actually doing something. Connor McDavid, 64 points. He's leading the way. Matt Barzal, 55 points. Chris Kreider, 48 points. This team is finally starting to see some success. And when I say that, I mean this team finally got through an entire season. Getting through an entire season is success in my eyes. The Dallas Stars are Stanley Cup champions, but we don't care about that. I want to know which team we beat. Who were the absolute frauds that lost to the Brandon Bulls, and why were they either the St. Louis Blues or Calgary Flames? Because it's either St. Louis or Calgary, and I think we all know that. But never mind. In the final game of the season, we're taking down the San Jose Sharks 2-1. I mean, I guess that really shouldn't surprise me either. San Jose's down with St. Louis and Calgary at the bottom of the league. That kind of makes a little bit of sense. Now, the one good thing about Connor McDavid being our last player is a lot of his attributes are incredibly high, but maybe his aggressiveness isn't as high as his other attributes. Like, if we landed on speed, agility, offensive awareness, any of his shooting attributes, we'd be bringing a superstar to the team regardless. When it comes to aggressiveness, though, I don't really know if that's going to be giving us another superstar. So Connor McDavid, you might be a 97 overall and the highest overall in the game, but when it comes to your aggressiveness attribute, it's only an 82, so we need to find a player who's a very high overall but has 82 aggressiveness. That might end up being a little bit more difficult than I was expecting. I mean, in saying that, Connor Bedard, I wouldn't call you the most aggressive player in the league, so there is a chance you have 82 aggressiveness, but not quite. You only have 80, so we're going to be passing up on Bedard. Like, who's a star player that I really wouldn't say is that aggressive? I guess Sebastian Aho kind of fits that criteria, but you know what? I don't want to bring another Carolina Hurricane to the team. David Pastrnak, you're a bit more aggressive than Connor McDavid, but maybe your attribute is the same. It doesn't look like it. You have an 81 aggressiveness, so we're missing out on David Pastrnak. But that doesn't mean we can't walk away with a player from Boston. Charlie McAvoy, what's your aggressiveness? He has an 82, So that's who we're going to be going with. Charlie McAvoy, welcome to the team. We're bringing in another defenseman. So we've gone ahead and added another defenseman to the team. Charlie McAvoy is going to be teaming up with Jacob Slavin. That's going to be a really solid first pairing. We have an actual left defenseman alongside an actual right defenseman. Everyone's either in their primary or secondary position, so we don't have to worry about any nonsense like Chris Kreider playing center minutes. But at points in the game, we are going to have only NHL players on the ice. We're going to have our first line on the ice with our first pairing. That should result in a couple goals and maybe even a couple wins. By the end of the day, we still have to remember the rest of this team outside of our first line, our first pairing, and our goaltenders are all 0 overalls. So don't really expect too much from us. Now with another season in the bag for the Brandon Bulls, that's going to be another win. A 2-77-3 record this season. The best record we've seen yet. However, our goal scoring was actually worse as we only scored 66 goals this season. Not really too sure how that took a step back. Like, we added Charlie McAvoy to the team and he picked up 32 points this season. But you're telling me he's making our offense worse? That doesn't make any sense. In theory, our power play should have been significantly better this season, meaning we should have scored more goals in the power play. You know what? I don't want to question it. Sorokin's going to be taking home 2 wins and a shutout this season. Vasilevsky, he was doing a whole lot of losing. But yeah, how did Charlie McAvoy make us worse? Or at least worse offensively? Because technically we won more games and we lost more games in overtime, so we were technically better. However, when it comes to our offense, that was worse, surprisingly. But you know what? We shouldn't spend too much time overthinking that. We could be on a hamster wheel for a long time. We're going to be linking our next player based on Charlie McAvoy's speed attribute. If only we had been linking off Connor McDavid's speed attribute, then we would have been looking at like a 95 overall player. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't act like Charlie McAvoy is just incredibly slow. He has an 87 rated speed attribute, so that's really not that bad. Is it a 96 like Connor McDavid's? Absolutely not, but let's not act like an 87 is terrible. Now, who do I think is probably going to have an 87 speed attribute? Well, I don't think Ovi's the fastest skater in the world, and I do believe NHL would probably have his speed attribute higher than what it should be, but it looks like he's an 83. Truthfully, that makes a little bit of sense. Robert Thomas, on the other hand, he might have an 87 speed attribute. Are we bringing Robert Thomas to the team? He has an 88, so we're not going to be able to get Robert Thomas. Sidney Crosby's speed attribute is probably a little bit too high. Brady Tkachuk might be an 87. There is a good chance Brady Tkachuk is an 87, but it looks like he's an 86. I seem to be off by 1 every time. I'm either 1 over 87 or 1 under 87. I know we can't go with Nick Suzuki, but maybe Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield might have an 87 speed attribute, and it looks like he does. So Cole Caulfield, you're going to be the next player we're bringing to the team. So Cole Caulfield, I'm immediately throwing you on the top line. I want you, Connor McDavid, and Chris Kreider to be playing alongside each other. Matt Barzal, your primary position is a centerman, so how about you play some centermans this season? You're going to be alongside 2 0 overalls, but you know what? I think we'll make it work. Now, Cole Caulfield was certainly a great addition to the team, and he definitely helped our goal scoring because we're finally going to be over a goal per game. 89 goals scored this season, 1.09 goals per game. We even won 4 games in the process. Cole Caulfield might have been the missing piece for us. Connor McDavid, 73 points. Cole Caulfield, 69. Chris Kreider, 36. Charlie McAvoy, 34. Matt Barzal, 28. And then Slavin, he had 6 points. So shout out to Slavin for picking up those 6 points. Meanwhile, Vasilevsky, he's picking up all 4 wins, 1 shutout in the process, a 910 to 489. I'm not worried about goaltending whatsoever. We have 2 amazing goalies we can definitely rely on. We just have to build the team around them. And once we do that, we'll be Stanley Cup champions. So best case scenario, we land on one of the shooting attributes. Worst case scenario, we land on body checking. But luckily, we're going to be getting wrist shot accuracy, something Cole Caulfield is elite at. So he's definitely going to have a high rating there, meaning we should be able to bring in a pretty good player. Now, when it comes to Cole Caulfield's wrist shot accuracy, we're looking at a 94 rating. Now, the first player I'm checking in on is Nathan MacKinnon. If we can bring Nathan MacKinnon to the team, that is going to be a huge upgrade. I feel like his wrist shot accuracy is going to be slightly higher than a 94, but maybe we can get lucky, and we're getting lucky. Nathan MacKinnon, welcome to the team. We're basically walking away with the best player we could get. Now, I have such high expectations for this season coming up. McDavid, MacKinnon, Cole Caulfield, Chris Kreider, Matt Barzal. I can't really ask for a better team. We have an amazing foundation here between these 2 guys. As long as we continue to bring in great supporting pieces, we're definitely going to be winning a Stanley Cup sooner than later. And saying all of that, it probably wouldn't hurt if we brought another defenseman to the team, because right now we only have 2 active defensemen. The rest are 0 overall, so we should address that. Now, of course, with the addition of Nathan MacKinnon, we're going to see a lot more success this season. 8 wins to be exact, an 8-69-5 record, 126 goals. We all saw this coming, and it's no surprise McDavid's going to be a point a game game. And MacKinnon, I expect you to be a point a game as well, but I guess you're going to let me down. 37 goals and 41 assists for only 78 points. He's a fraud, an absolute fraud. At the very minimum, I was expecting 2 point a game players, but I guess we're not getting that. When it comes to goaltending, I don't even care because Nathan MacKinnon let me down. How could you do this to me? I had such high expectations for you and Connor McDavid, and then you didn't even pick up a point a game. What are you doing out there? Like, come on, Nathan MacKinnon. You're one of the best players in the game. How are you not picking up at least a point a game? It's a little bit ridiculous. It looks like we're going to be linking your defensive awareness to our next player. I'm assuming your defensive awareness is pretty high considering you're 96 overall. Now, I am very aware of how much offensive awareness and defensive awareness affects your overall. So I'm assuming at the very minimum, Nathan MacKinnon's defensive awareness is at least a 92. But I guess that's not the case. He only has an 88 defensive awareness. That's actually significantly lower than I was expecting. I was expecting like a 92 or 93. So I guess we're going to have to work with the defensive awareness of an 88. Now, who exactly do I think is going to have an 88 defensive awareness? Well, we could check in on the Winnipeg Jets and Kyle Connor. I do think there's a possibility that your defensive awareness is an 88. We're going to double check with you, but yours is an 84. Okay, I thought it would be a little bit higher than that. Apparently, I know nothing. Josh Morrissey, I'm assuming yours has to be in the 90s, so I didn't really check in on you, but I guess I will. Your defensive awareness is an 88. All right, Josh Morrissey, welcome to the team. Yeah, I was just under the impression that every defenseman, regardless of whether or not they're an offensive defenseman or not, they would have a defensive awareness of at least a 90. But I guess that's not the case. Josh Morrissey, you have a defensive awareness of an 88. That's the exact same as Nathan MacKinnon, meaning you're the next player we're bringing to the team. Now, we're slowly building a defense I'm really happy with. Josh Morrissey, Charlie McAvoy, Jacob Slavin, 3 amazing players. Yes, they're still surrounded with 3-0 overalls, but we'll address that pretty soon. I mean, I can't really guarantee how quick we're going to address that because it really depends on which attribute we're going to be linking. Now, Josh Morrissey, you're actually not helping the team as much as I thought you would. We're winning 9 games this season, a 9-72-1 record. Yeah, this was a very forgettable season. Josh Morrissey, you joined the team. You did what you could, but honestly, you didn't help enough. Nathan MacKinnon was above a point a game, so I guess we can celebrate that. But yeah, Josh Morrissey, 6 goals, 38 assists for 44 points. This was a very forgettable season. We're actually going to pretend this season didn't happen, and we're just going to spin the wheel of attributes right now. Yeah, like Josh Morrissey, I'm going to keep it a stack. Like, you really did nothing there. You did not help us in the slightest. We're going to be taking your strength attribute, and I just have a feeling like it's not the highest in the world. So as I mentioned, Josh Morrissey, I'm not expecting your strength attribute to really be that high, and it looks like your strength is an 85. Honestly, that's a bit higher than I thought it would be. Now, who else in the NHL do I think has an 85 strength attribute? I have no clue. But maybe Austin Matthews. I have no clue what his is going to be. His is a 90. William Nylander, what's your strength attribute? Maybe we can bring you to the team, and that's what we're doing. William Nylander, welcome to the team. You have the same strength attribute as Josh Morrissey. I'm going to keep it a stack. I was just going to keep taking flyers on random players. I was just going to select random player after random player until we found somebody with an 85 strength attribute, because I have no clue what anyone's strength in this game would be. We finally have our completed top 6. Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, Cole Caulfield. On the second line, we're going to see Chris Kreider, Matt Barzal, and William Nylander. This is an amazing top 6 here. It's only a matter of time before we win a Stanley Cup. I am very confident in this team winning a Stanley Cup when they have 0 overall players on the team. Whether it's 1 0 overall player, 2 0 overall players, or 3 0 overall players, we're going to be able to win with those 0 overalls. Once we reach 4 0 overalls, then it's going to be impossible, but we could win a Stanley Cup with 3 on the team. Now, the addition of William Nylander helped us a ton, but way more than I was expecting. Yes, we're still dead last in the league, but an 18-60-4 record, I definitely wasn't expecting that. 2.41 goals per game. I just want to point out we were 47 goals back to the Carolina Hurricanes, and they actually weren't the worst offensive team, because the San Jose Sharks only scored 36 more goals than us this season. We have 6-0 overalls on the bottom 6, and you only scored 36 more goals than us. Y'all should be ashamed. Nathan MacKinnon, he dominated this season. 103 points, 43 goals, and 60 helpers. Connor McDavid, 91 points. William Nylander, 76. I think we're 1 defenseman away from being like a 28-win team. Once we're able to add another defenseman and complete our second pairing, this team's going to be taking over the league. But at the end of the day, this season might have been a little bit of a fluke. Like, we took a massive jump after adding just William Nylander to the team. How sustainable is this? I would not be overly surprised if we came crashing down next season, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if we won like 25 games. So let's just hope that we land on one of William Nylander's best attributes, His durability is questionable. Yeah, I wouldn't say William Nylander is the most durable player in the NHL. Now, William Nylander, I know for a fact you're not the most durable player in the NHL. Your durability is a 90, though. Why is William Nylander's durability a 90? I feel like it shouldn't be a 90. Granted, over the last couple seasons, he's basically played every game imaginable. So you know what? Maybe I take that back. William Nylander, you're actually pretty durable. Why do I feel like you've been injured, though? For some reason, I feel like William Nylander has been hurt a couple times over the past couple years. Maybe I'm just bugging because Austin Matthews gets hurt all the time. For some reason, I would have said over the past couple years, William Nylander has missed a couple more games. Like since the 2021-2022 season, not counting this season, he has missed one game. That just doesn't seem right. But anyways, we're working with a 90 durability, so we actually should be able to bring a pretty good player to the team. However, if I do recall, we did land on durability earlier, and it is a very confusing stat. So when looking at durability, we could bring in a guy like Travis Konechny, we could bring in Sanheim. When it comes to the Ottawa Senators, we have Jake Sanderson, we have Tim Stutzel. Those are two pretty solid options as well. When it comes to the New York Rangers, we have Zibanejad, we had Panarin, so there actually is a handful of options. If I remember last time we were dealing with Sorokin and his durability was like a 95 or something, and there was no forwards or defensemen that had a durability attribute that high. However, when it comes to durability of exactly 90, there's actually a lot of great options. One of those options being Matt Boldy, and I think that's who we're going to go with. Shout out to Matt Boldy, having one heck of a season right now. We got to put a bit more respect on his name, so he's the guy we're bringing to the team. Now, Matt Boldy, I think you're going to be an amazing player on our second line. Chris Kreider, you're moving down to the third line. You're going to be playing alongside Mike Nolan and Sassy. Honestly, this is the equivalent of playing alongside 299 overalls, but unfortunately, there's 0 overalls. So yeah, I don't know what to say about that. You're stuck with 2 0 overalls. Nulsy and Sassy are legends in their own right, though, so we do have to put a bit of respect on their names. Now, we've been seeing a lot of success over the past couple of years, but of course, it all has to come crashing down. A 14-63-5 record, only 172 goals scored this season. We collapsed. Plain and simple, this team completely collapsed. They're not nearly as good as they used to be. McDavid only had 83 points. Nathan MacKinnon less than a point a game. What happened to our elite team? Why did Matt Boldy completely destroy this team? Because he shouldn't have. Matt Boldy's a great player. He is definitely not making us any worse, but for some reason he actually did. Vasilevsky, 11 wins, 2 shouts, and 914 to 389. You were amazing this season. Sorokin kind of sucked though. Then again, we do have to remember what team is in front of him. Like, he really doesn't have that much support. So I can't really say that Sorokin let us down here because he really wasn't that bad. The Seattle Kraken are going to be Stanley Cup champions. They're going to sweep the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup final. Yes, you heard me right. Seattle is sweeping Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup final. That's almost as interesting as what happened to us this season. So we're going to be building off Matt Boldy, and we're going to be linking our next attribute to him. Slapshot power should be a decent one, because I'm assuming his slapshot power is probably around an 87 to an 89. So Matt Boldy, let's see how accurate I'm going to be with your slapshot power. I said anywhere between 87 to an 89, and it looks like your slapshot power is an 89. So my guess on your slapshot power was pretty good. So the next player we're bringing in has the exact same slapshot power as you. I don't think it should be too hard to find a player like that. But he's on the Florida Panthers. I'm going to assume there's a couple guys that have a slapshot power of an 89. Starting with Barkov, what's his? His slapshot power is a 90, so we're going to be passing up on him. When it comes to Matthew Tkachuk, his is a 91. Sam Reinhart's is an 87. Somebody on this team has to have a slapshot power of 89, but maybe not. There is no one I'm really interested in that has a slapshot power of 89, so we're not going to be picking up anyone from Florida. Unless Carter Verhaeghe, for some reason, has a slapshot power of 89, then we will bring him to the team, but we can't even bring him in. So I guess we're going to pass up on everyone on the Florida Panthers. Maybe we can move over to the Detroit Red Wings, because Dylan Larkin, I do think there's a possibility your slapshot power is an 89, and you know what? It looks like I'm going to be right, so Dylan Larkin's going to be joining the team next. He's going to be an amazing addition to our core. So Dylan Larkin's going to be brought in to improve our top 6 a little bit more. Matt Barzal, you're going to be moving down to the third line to play alongside Chris Kreider. We only have 7 0 overalls on the team left, 4 in the forward core, 3 in the defensive core, so we're getting very close to competing for a Stanley Cup. So I think what we're going to do moving into next season is, regardless of what attribute we land on, unless it's face-off, we're going to be bringing in a defenseman, so then we can complete our top 4 defensive core. Now, with only 4 0 overalls in our forward core, it's only a matter of time before we start seeing more success, and we finally saw that success. A 20-win campaign, 2.55 goals per game. We were only 31 goals back of the second worst offensive team in the league, which was the Carolina Hurricanes once again and the San Jose Sharks. Why does Carolina's offense completely stink in this video? I have no clue. because they're a pretty solid offensive team. I mean, I wouldn't call them a top 3 offensive team, but they're definitely one of the better offensive teams in the league. Vasilevsky 12 wins, Sorokin 8 wins. So our goaltending was pretty even this season, which is a little bit of a concern because Vasilevsky did play like 26 more games. So Vasilevsky, I need more from you. I need you to win those extra games for me, and if you do that, we can be looking at 25 wins next season, especially when we bring a defenseman to the team, because that's what we're going after. Now, as long as we don't land on the face-off attribute, we will be bringing a defenseman to the team, and it looks like we're going to be using Dylan Larkin's agility, which I am perfectly fine with. Now, I think we're all well aware Dylan Larkin has some amazing wheels. He's definitely a quick player, and because of that, his agility is going to be sitting at a 90, so I know for a fact we're getting an elite defenseman. Now, the first team I want to check in on is the Columbus Blue Jackets. Zach Werenski, you're the player I'm thinking about, but your agility is a 91, so we're just going to be missing out on Zach Werenski. But you know what? Dallas might have another great option for us. Miro Heiskanen, was your agility sitting at? It's an 88, so we're missing out on Heiskanen as well. There has to be some 90 overall defensemen out there that I can bring to the team that has a 90 agility. Roman Josi, what's your agility? It's a 92. This actually might end up being a bit more difficult than I thought it would be. Adam Fox, what's your agility stats? You got to be pretty close to a 90. You're a 91. Dylan Larkin, for being a very fast player, there's a lot of players who have a higher agility stat than you. Maybe we're going to be moving over to the Seattle Kraken. Brandon Montour, your agility is an 87. Vince Dunn, yours is an 87 as well. I'm starting to think there is a very good probability that we actually don't bring a defenseman to the team here. Sergachev, what's your agility stat looking like? Do you have a 90? It doesn't look like it. You're an 86. Noah Hanifin, Shea Theodore, I need you guys to step up for me. Can one of you two players have a 90 agility? Noah Hanifin, of course, is an 89. And then Shea Theodore, he's an 89 as well. Who could have seen that coming? So I guess we'll just move over to the Washington Capitals next. And John Carlson, what is your agility? Yours is an 88. I have just about given up on defensemen to add to the team here. Like Rasmus Dahlin, your agility has to be higher than a 90. You're probably looking at like a 92, a 93, and it looks like yours is a 92, so we can't go with Rasmus Dahlin. Rasmus Anderson might be the next option, or Mackenzie Weegar. I'd be fine with either of those players, and it looks like Mackenzie Weegar has a 90. I will check in on Rasmus Anderson just because I'm curious. His agility is an 88. I guess we could go with Nazem Kadri. He has a 90 agility, but as I mentioned earlier, I do want to bring a defenseman to the team, and that defenseman will be Mackenzie Weegar. So we've added another great defenseman, Mackenzie Weegar. Our top 4 is now complete. We just have to work on the third pairing, but do we really have to work on it? We have Mordecai and Rigby together. That's the equivalent of 299 overalls. I mean, I guess it's also the equivalent of 20 overalls, depending on what part of the episode you're watching. At the beginning of the episode, we have 20 overalls. At the end of the episode, you have 299 overalls. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, you need to educate yourself. Learn about Mordecai and Rigby. Trust me, that's more important than anything you're doing in school right now. You have to learn about Mordo and Riggs. Now, for a long time now, we have been the worst team in the entire league. But with Mackenzie Weegar, I think things are different. We are no longer the worst team in the entire league. The Boston Bruins are worse than us. They only won 28 games compared to our 34. We had 11 more points than those frauds. The Brandon Bulls are officially here, and look at our offense. We had a better offense than the New Jersey Devils, who were 8th in the entire league. Once we fix our defense, nobody's going to be able to stop us. William Nylander 106 points, Connor McDavid 105, Nathan MacKinnon 99. Why do I feel like this season was a bit of a fluke? We almost had 3 players with 100 points. I feel like next season we're not going to have nearly as much success. I feel like this season was a little bit fluky. Like Sorokin almost won 50% of the games he played. I just feel like that isn't right. But you know what? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe this team is finally living up to the hype. Maybe we can take the next step next season and maybe, just maybe, be a fringe wildcard team. I think being a fringe wildcard team is really stretching it, but you know what? Anything's possible. Keep me on face-off. We're getting endurance. The reason I want to be on face-off is because all defensemen, I believe, have the same face-off rating, which is a 55. So that means we could have just brought the best defenseman in the game to our team. We could have went out and got a superstar, but instead, we have endurance. But honestly, I feel like that really shouldn't hurt us too much. I'm assuming Mackenzie Weegar has some decent endurance, so we should be able to link Mackenzie Weegar into a really good player. Now, Mackenzie Weegar, I'm banking on your endurance rating to be pretty solid, and you know what? It doesn't look too bad. An 89 endurance is definitely something I can work with. However, I'm kind of questioning whether or not we can get a 90 plus rated player who only has an 89 endurance. Like, I feel like if anything, endurance is just going to be boosting overalls. It's not going to be lowering overalls. So when it comes to a guy like Barkov, he has an 89 endurance, so we're going to bring him to the team. Okay, I was fully expecting Barkov's endurance to be like a 94. Matthew Tkachuk's is an 88. Sam Reinhart's is an 89. Okay, who actually has a high endurance? Connor McDavid, what's your endurance? I'm actually very curious now. McDavid's endurance is an 88. Does anyone in the league have a 90 endurance? Like, I'm just assuming the highest overall players in the league, they have the highest endurance. Leon Draisaitl's is an 89. Going over to the Columbus Blue Jackets, Cale Makar is a 92. Nathan MacKinnon is a 90. Devon Toews is a 90. Brett Burns is an 89. And respectfully, that doesn't really make sense considering he's 40 years old, but you know what? I'm not going to question it. Maybe Brett Burns' endurance is way better than I thought it would be, but I just feel like at 40 years old, it probably shouldn't be an 89. When looking at the Buffalo Sabres, Rasmus Dahlin is an option. Okay, that makes things very interesting. Do I go with Rasmus Dahlin? Yes, Barkov is an amazing player, but Rasmus Dahlin would be an elite defenseman we could bring to the team. You know what? I can't pass up on 95 overall Barkov, so we're sticking with him. So Barkov's going to be jumping into our top 6, and he's going to be making it even better than it was before. I understand that we have a 0 overall 4th line, and I understand that we have a 0 overall 3rd pairing. I do think being a fringe wildcard team is possible. Yes, there is 5 0 overall players on our team, but our team is consisting of a ton of superstars right now, so it actually might be possible. Now, unfortunately, I think I had too much faith in this team. Being a wildcard team with that many 0 overalls on the team, obviously it's not going to happen. We're 28th in the entire league, a 38-43-1 record. But I think if we add one more defenseman to this team, we could be a fringe wildcard team. Because as we know, when it comes to the simulation, defensemen are a lot more important than forwards. Especially when you're a fringe wildcard team, one defenseman can add an additional 5 to 7 wins to your team. Nathan MacKinnon, 98 points, Connor McDavid, 97, Barkov, 75. So the scoring also wasn't quite as good this season. So that definitely has an impact on us not being a wildcard team this season. Vasilevsky, 24 wins, Sorokin, 14 wins. I think we're one defenseman away. So how about we go add that defenseman? The Calgary Flames are Stanley Cup champions, sweeping the Buffalo Sabres. Now that is a Stanley Cup final that nobody wants to see. Now obviously I'm just kidding there. That would actually be a very interesting Stanley Cup final, because how on earth did both of those teams make it to the Stanley Cup final? Imagine in 2026, the Calgary Flames making it to the Stanley Cup final, but in that same season, the Buffalo Sabres making it to the Stanley Cup final. I'm not gonna lie, if both of those teams went on an absolute heater and made it to the Cup final, that would be must-watch hockey. So we're going to be building off Aleksander Barkov's aggressiveness, and his aggressiveness is an 84, not really too surprising. I wasn't really expecting it to be that high, but we are focused on bringing a defenseman to the team, so let's check in with the Columbus Blue Jackets, because Zach Werenski, I'm certainly interested. What is your aggressiveness? It's a 78. I'm not really overly surprised it's low, but I did think it would be a bit higher than a 78. So we're missing out on Zach Werenski, so let's check in with Miro Heiskanen. Is he going to have an 84 aggressiveness? He only has an 80, so we're missing out on him as well. Rasmus Dahlin, I passed up on you not too long ago. Maybe I can bring you to the team here, and it looks like it. Rasmus Dahlin, he has an 84 aggressiveness, the same as Barkov, so he's going to be our next addition. So here's what our defense is going to be looking like moving forward. The left side looks incredible. Rasmus Dahlin, Josh Morrissey, Jacob Slavin. I can't ask for a better left side defense. When it comes to the right side, Charlie McAvoy, Mackenzie Weegar, I know for a fact you guys can play your roles here. The defense is looking spectacular. We just need to add one more defenseman. And then when it comes to the forward core, we do have to address our 4th line eventually, but I'm not too worried right now. Now here is a perfect example of what I just meant. You add a defenseman to the team, it completely changes your franchise. 6th in the entire league for the Brandon Bulls, a 45-31-6 record, 3.15 goals per game while only allowing 3.12. We had a terrible goal differential. We had a goal differential of 2. Connor McDavid, 98 points, Nathan MacKinnon, 91. This season is such a fluke. We're going to be a first round exit. I don't care how good we were this season. It was a fluke and we're a first round exit. We're taking on Minnesota. We do not stand a chance. Like, I'm sorry, but let's just get this simulation over with quick. We know for a fact that we're not winning the Stanley Cup this season. We're dropping the first 2 games. It's the first 3 games. I'm honestly just surprised that we didn't get swept. I was fully expecting a sweep. Minnesota will take us down 5 games. Truthfully, we didn't deserve to make the playoffs. A goal differential of 2, and we were 6th in the entire league. We didn't earn that. So congrats to the Edmonton Oilers, your Stanley Cup champions, taking down the Florida Panthers in 7 games, but we all know we shouldn't have been here. There is no reason we should have been 6th in the entire league with a goal differential of 2. we were just not that good of a team. So let's go ahead and add another player to the team. I don't really care whether or not this player is a forward or a defenseman. Either or is going to help. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel of attributes once again. What attribute are we going to be getting? Well, it looks like we're going to be landing on speed. I'm assuming Rasmus Dahlin's speed attribute is probably like a 92 or 93. So that means we should be walking away with at least a 92 or 93 overall player. So Rasmus Dahlin, I was thinking around a 92 or a 93 when it came to your speed attribute. And what is it going to be? Well, your speed attribute is actually going to be a 90, a little bit lower than what I was expecting, but we can still work with a 90. Now, I guess it really depends. Do I want a forward or do I want a defenseman? Like, I definitely wouldn't be against bringing a forward to the team, and if Jack Eichel just happens to have a 90 speed rating, then that's who we're going to go with, but he's a 93, no surprise there. Mitch Marner, he's an 88, so we're going to be missing out on those two guys right there. We could head over to the Vancouver Canucks, and Marco Rossi, I am interested in you, but you only have an 88 speed rating, so we're going to be passing up on you. When it comes to the Utah Mammoth, Clayton Keller would be interesting, but what's with me bringing all these playmakers to the team? Well, let's go try to find some power forwards or some snipers. Okay, I'm the biggest hypocrite of all time. Sidney Crosby, you're a playmaker. And I literally just said, like 3 seconds ago, we don't need more playmakers. But do you have a 90 rated speed attribute? Because if you do, I'm bringing you to the team. And Sidney Crosby's joined this team, because I'm not passing up on Crosby. So here's what our lines are looking like this season. And yes, we have a couple players out of position. But are you telling me you wouldn't play William Nylander and Barkov out of position to keep them in the top 6? I 1000% would. Barkov, I don't care if you're not a left winger. You're going to learn how to play as a left winger. Talking about we need to play Barkov on the 3rd and 4th line. We're not doing that. Barkov, you will play left wing minutes for me. Truthfully, you should probably be our number 1 left winger, but I'll just keep you on the 2nd line for now. Now I'm a little bit surprised that we actually took a step back this season. 10th in the entire league, a 41, 29, and 12 record. When it comes to our goal differential, I guess you can technically say that was better this season because we had a goal differential of 4, not 2 this time. So yes, our goal differential was better, but in reality, it really wasn't. Like, we're not going to be gassing up a goal differential of 4. Clearly, this team still has a lot of problems, so I'm fully expecting a first round exit. Vasilevsky, you put up some amazing numbers, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There's still too many 0 overalls on this team. We're taking on the Dallas Stars in the first round. This is going to be light work for them. I mean, at the end of the day, if you guys can somehow put up a slight fight here, I wouldn't be against it, but Dallas is likely going to dominate. They're winning the first 2 games, made that the first 3 games. We all saw this sweep coming. What are we talking about? I'm not going to gas up this team. We did absolutely nothing. Let's just go spin the wheel. So we have to remember we're building off Sidney Crosby's attributes, so anything related to defense would probably be good, but passing's also not going to hurt us. We're going to be linking our next player off Sidney Crosby's passing. I can certainly work with that. Now, Sidney Crosby, we're all well aware that your passing rating is going to be incredibly high. It's a 95. How many players are actually going to have a 95 passing attribute? This actually might be very difficult. Like, I'm just going to go through every team here until we find somebody who has a 95 passing attribute, because I feel like it's actually going to be very difficult. Like, Jack Hughes only has a 94. Jesper Bratt only has a 94. Who's going to have a 95 that's not named Sidney Crosby? We already have McDavid on the team. We already have Nathan MacKinnon on the team. We're missing out on Quinn Hughes, but then again, we can't bring anyone else from Minnesota. I guess we could check on Jack Eichel, because Jack Eichel actually might have a 95. So Jack Eichel, what's your passing rating? It is a 94. We're also missing out on Mitch Marner, who has a 96. So there is possible for us to link to somebody. I just don't know who we're going to be linking to. So I'll just continue to scroll through basically every team until we can find somebody. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to bring one of the best passers in the game to our team. If your passing rating is a 95, clearly you're one of the best. Cale Makar, we can't go with you because we've already brought in somebody from the Colorado Avalanche. Honestly, that's a heartbreaker. Zach Werenski, we're one off when it comes to you. When it comes to the Dallas Stars, Mikko Rantanen, we can bring you to the team. We haven't brought in anyone from the Dallas Stars yet, so Mikko Rantanen is going to be the next player we're bringing in. With Mikko Rantanen on the team, I think there's a very good possibility we win a Stanley Cup this season. We only have 2 0 overalls left, 1 on the forward core and 1 on the defensive core. I can't imagine these 0 overall players holding us back too much, especially when the rest of the team is full of superstars. This team right here with 0 overall players should be able to win. Now, the Brandon Bulls are one of the best teams in the entire league. 1 point back of the Seattle Kraken, currently sitting 3rd in the entire league with a 49, 23, and 10 record. It's our time. It's finally time for us to take over. No more excuses. No more failures. It's time for this team to dominate. We have to show up in the postseason, and we need to win some games. We are yet to make it out of the first round, but that's going to change right now. But it's definitely not going to be easy. We have the Minnesota Wild in the first round. So Brandon, I need y'all to lock in right now. I need you to lock in and get past the Minnesota Wild. Now, they're going to put up a pretty big fight, but I believe you guys can beat them. We split the series so far with Minnesota. Game number 5 is going to be the big one. Can we find a way to get past them? We're allowing 7 goals. Why does that not surprise me? If we lose to the Minnesota Wild, the next thing we're doing is finding a defenseman to join this team. We have to complete our defensive core, but that's if we lose here, because there is the possibility we make this comeback and we still win this series. And you know what? We still have a chance. Jacob Slavin and Matt Boldy are picking up goals in the third period. We've evened up this series. Now we just need to win game 7. It's all coming down to this game right here. One game to decide it all. Can we get past the Minnesota Wild and finally move on to the second round? Well, in the first period, we're down 3-1. So yeah, unless we make some crazy comeback in this one, I assume we're going to be losing. We're only down by 1 goal entering the third, so it is possible we make the comeback, but that's not going to be happening. Kirill Kaprizov's picking up a power play goal, and it looks like the boys are eliminated. So the boys are going to be falling in the first round once again. Honestly, this is inexcusable. 3 straight first round exits. Y'all got to figure it out, and you need to do that right now. Now, I don't care who won the Stanley Cup. I didn't even bother to simulate the rest of the season. We have to bring somebody else to the team, and preferably that player be a defenseman. It looks like we're going to be building off Mikko Rantanen's discipline attribute. Not really too sure what to expect here. So Mikko Rantanen's discipline attribute is going to be sitting at a nice 82. Now, honestly, when it comes to basically everyone's discipline attribute in this game, I have no clue what anyone's would be. I have never paid attention to anyone's discipline attribute. Zach Greinke, I'm assuming yours is higher than an 82. Yours is an 87. No surprise there. Connor Bedard, what's your discipline attribute? I know I just said we needed a defenseman, but I wouldn't be against bringing Connor Bedard to the team, and I think that's actually what we're going to do. Connor Bedard, welcome to the Brandon Bulls. So our forward core is officially complete. Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, William Nylander, Sidney Crosby, Barkov, Dylan Larkin, Connor Bedard, Cole Caulfield, Matt Boldy, Matt Barzal, and then Chris Kreider. We only have 1 0 overall left on this team, and that's 1 defenseman. Outside of that, this team is perfection, but can they get out of the first round? Because we still haven't done that. We have lost in the first round far too many times. Let's sweep everyone moving forward, 16-0 in the playoffs. So Brandon, I think it's finally time for you to take over. First in the entire league, a 53-24-5 record. Look at the goal differential. It was almost 100 goals this season. You guys can't fold anymore. No more folding, no more collapsing. It is finally time for you guys to get out of the first round. We had 4 point-a-game players, William Nylander, Mikko Rantanen, Nathan MacKinnon, Connor McDavid. They were all dominating. Goaltending looked pretty solid this season, but can we get out of the first round, or are we going to collapse to the Nashville Predators? We're about to find out. Like, there's no way we fold in the first round again, right? Like, I'm assuming that we can get past the Nashville Predators and it shouldn't be too difficult. A sweep over Nashville is perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. So we're moving on to the second round, and now we get to take on the Colorado Avalanche. Now, the Avs are definitely going to be a tough team here, but you know what? I think the Brandon Bulls are pretty solid. After winning the first 2 games, we're dropping the next 2. Game number 5 is going to be the most important game. Can we win that one? It looks like we're dropping 3 straight games. Why do we have to collapse like this? Why can't we just make this simple on ourselves and beat the Colorado Avalanche and then go on to win the Stanley Cup? Why do we have to allow goals, and why do we have to lose 4 straight games? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We're losing to Colorado because we lost 4 in a row. We started the postseason 6-0, then we lost 4 in a row. No, there's really not too much I can say there. The boys folded when it mattered most. When they had to step up, they just completely collapsed. You hate to see it, you really do. Tampa's the Stanley Cup champs, but Brandon will be back, and we will hoist a Stanley Cup next season. So with this next spin, we're going to be linking attributes to Connor Bedard. What is Connor Bedard going to be giving us? A stick checking attribute. I don't know how I should feel about that. I feel like Connor Bedard's stick checking probably isn't the highest in the world. Now, when it comes to Connor Bedard's stick checking, I feel like at the very highest, it's probably only like an 85, and it's an 80. That actually seems pretty reasonable for where Connor Bedard is right now in his NHL career. I can only assume over the next couple years, that's going to climb to like an 87, maybe even an 88. But as of right now, it's only an 80. Now, the main issue we have here is we need to bring a defenseman to the team. And I don't think there's going to be too many defensemen where their stick checking attribute is only an 80. Like Zach Greinke, what's yours? Yours is an 88, so we're not going to be able to bring him to the team. Denton Matejchuk, what's your stick checking? Yours is an 87. Yeah, this could be really difficult. Now, I've scrolled through just about every team, but I finally found a player we can bring to the team, and that player is going to be Elias Pettersson, the defenseman. Not the forward Elias Pettersson, but instead the defenseman from Vancouver. So he's going to be the next player brought to the team. 79 overall Elias Pettersson is going to finish our team. Now, Elias Pettersson, I did not expect to see you today. Like, there was a 0% chance I ever expected Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, to be joining our team. But here we are. And he is the final piece for our team. How did we end up in this position? How on earth did we get a 79 overall player on our team? Like, how did that happen? Now, Brandon, you have disappointed absolutely everyone in the past. There's no way you do it again. 61 wins this season. You had a goal differential of 140. there is no way you mess this one up. This is the best team that you've had yet. No 0 overalls on the team. Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, has been the difference maker. Now all you have to do is win 16 postseason games, give me 16 playoff victories, and we can be Stanley Cup champions. I'm not gonna lie, Elias Pettersson being the difference maker here is actually hilarious. Like, who would have expected, of all players, Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, not the forward, the defenseman is the difference maker, and he's gonna be the reason we win a Stanley Cup. That would be crazy. I also want to point out we scored 18 goals over the past 2 games. We scored 18 goals in 2 games. Y'all can't lose. You cannot lose moving forward. We have to win every game moving forward. You scored 18 goals in a 2-game span. Nobody loses after doing that. So we've made it to the conference finals and we have the Vegas Golden Knights up. This is the furthest we've ever made it in the playoffs. Now just take down Vegas so we can move on to the Stanley Cup final. We can win the Stanley Cup. We have a good enough team to win the Stanley Cup. All we have to do is make it there and we're finally here. Now there's only one more team in front of us. That team is the Carolina Hurricanes. Can we beat Carolina and hoist the Stanley Cup? Yes, we can. The Brandon Bulls, Stanley Cup champions. We took down the Carolina Hurricanes and we built this entire team through linking attributes. We started with Chris Kreider and then we turned Chris Kreider into this team right here. Connor Bedard just led the way. Out of all players on this team, I was not expecting Connor Bedard to lead us in scoring. 16 goals, 11 assists for 26 points. William Nylander 25, Sidney Crosby 24. Look at all the point-a-game players. How many point-a-game players did we have on this team? We had 8 point-a-game players on this team. That is absolutely ridiculous. The offense was going crazy. Meanwhile, when it comes to goaltending, it was okay. I mean, a 912 and a 260 really isn't that bad, but considering the team in front of Vasilevsky, I was expecting better numbers. But at the end of the day, who cares what his numbers are? We're Stanley Cup champions, and this all started when we brought Chris Kreider to the team through his deking attribute. Without Chris Kreider's deking attribute, none of this happens.